Top 5 Youngest Murderers in History. Lionel Tate. Lionel Tate is the youngest American citizen ever sentenced to life imprisonment without possibility of parole. In January 2001, when Tate was only 13, he was convicted of first-degree murder for brutally beating a 6-year-old girl. Tate admitted wrestling with the 6-year-old girl and holding her in a headlock and slamming her head into a table, but the autopsy showed more serious injuries inflicted by Tate, including a crushed skull, broken ribs, and a shredded liver that had been pushed through her rib cage. The conviction and sentences shocked the nation and spurred discussion about the persecution of children in America. Eric Smith. At the age of 13, Eric Smith lured 4-year-old Derek Robbie to a park, where he then strangled him and beat him with 2 large rocks before sexually abusing and mutilating his body. In 1994, Smith was tried and convicted of second-degree murder and received a sentence of 9 years to life in prison, which was the maximum term given to the juvenile murderers. In his 2014 parole hearing, Smith said that he has been abused by family and bullied by classmates, so he took his frustration out on Robbie, but was worried that Robbie would tell, so he killed him. Mary Bell. In 1968, 11-year-old Mary Bell was convicted of killing 2 young boys, 4-year-old Martin Brown and 3-year-old Brian Howley. Bell strangled Martin Brown and left his lifeless body in an abandoned house in Newcastle, England. 2 weeks later, she and her 13-year-old friend Norma Bell strangled Brian Howley and used a pair of scissors to scratch his legs and mutilate his genitals. The girls were tried and convicted of manslaughter, but Norma was acquitted. Mary Bell received life in detention, but only served 12 years before she was released. Robert Thompson and John Venables. In February 1993, 10-year-old Robert and John abducted 2-year-old James Balgo in a shopping center in Liverpool, England, while his mom was briefly distracted inside a butcher's shop. They took the toddler to a railway line, where they tortured and brutally attacked him until they thought he was dead. In a final act of depravity, they laid the 2-year-old's body across the railway line, in a hope a train would hit him and make it look like an accident. The boys were charged with murder within weeks, making them the youngest convicted murderers in modern English history. Carl Newton Mahan. In 1929, 6-year-old Carl Newton and his 8-year-old friend Cecil Van Hoos were collecting scrap metal to sell for some extra money. They began fighting over a piece of scrap iron, and Cecil hit Carl in the face with it. Carl did not hit Cecil back or run to tell his parents. Instead, he ran home and grabbed his father's shotgun and ran all the way back and told Cecil, "I'm going to shoot you," just before pulling the trigger, killing the other boy. Carl went to trial for the murder of Van Hoos, where he was sentenced to 15 years of reform school and released to his parents on 500 bail. That's the end of this video. Please don't forget to subscribe and share this video with all your friends. Thanks for watching.